Right, so welcome everyone. First, Greg, thank you for inviting me to present today. So my name is Max Katz and I run developer relations for Tiggzi. So how many of you heard about Tiggzi? Right, that's good. That's why I'm here. But basically, it's a cloud-based mobile app builder. Right, more specifically, it's HTML5, jQuery mobile, and also PhoneGap app builder. So you can build apps entirely in the cloud. So just this is my information. So I'm actually from Exadel. So we're a company out of San Francisco Bay Area, East Bay, 25 miles east of San Francisco, and we've been there since '98, doing a lot of professional services, custom development, a lot of it on the enterprise side. So that's sort of my other experience. And then we have 7 offices in Europe with over 400 employees. All right. So again, Tiggzi, it's a cloud-based mobile app builder, so you can build HTML5, jQuery mobile, so that kind of goes together. And also PhoneGap apps, right? And of course, those apps can be connected to any REST API, right? So there's a huge thing going on with APIs. Everyone is exposing APIs. All these companies, they want you to use their APIs. So this tool makes it very easy and simple for your app to use any API out there. Okay, so I'm going to run again, just have really, 5, 6, 7 slides, and then I'm actually going to build an app, a real app for you. You guys will be able to actually test in your phones as I build it. All right. Anyhow, so first is again, you build the UI, right? That's sort of usually kind of the first step, at least for a new app. Again, you can see this is the builder. Again, this is running in the browser. So you build the UI with jQuery mobile, HTML5. You can of course do JavaScript and CSS. And this is drag and drop type development, where you take components and you just drag and drop them into the phone. So this is of course just a phone, but you can also do a tablet. We have a special template for iPad, for example. So next, you can connect this to any REST API, right? That's out there. So Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, SoundCloud. I mean, you name it. I mean, there's a whole explosion of different APIs happening today. We got AT&T, Verizon. If you go to something like programmableweb.com, a few months ago they had over, I think, 5,000 different APIs. Right? So all these companies, again, Amazon and all these companies, they have a lot of resources that they expose via these APIs, and they want people to actually build apps using their API. That's sort of the new thing that's happening. And again, this tool makes it very, very easy to actually build apps and consume any API out there, right? So the API that you can use, it can be of course open, like I'm going to use in my example, but you can also authenticate against the API. So of course, everything is supported. So next is you can of course specify events and actions. So for example, you can do a button click and you can do something with button click. You can invoke a service, you can run JavaScript, you can invoke the PhoneGap API. Right? So again, you can define events. Of course, the events are just browser events, right? Whichever the browser supports, because we're building a mobile web app. But there are also device events, so you're using PhoneGap. You guys familiar with PhoneGap? All right. So there are also device events that you can use. Right? So now testing. So you built your UI, right, and you want to be able to see how it looks on the phone. So what's really nice is that instantly you can test the app in the browser. All right? There is a big test button, right? You can open it in the desktop browser, okay? But you can also, of course, open it on the phone itself. I mean, that's really where the app will be running, right? So just making the app public, there is a QR code you can scan, for example. This is just an easy way to get it on your device. Now, if you use any PhoneGap features, right, then of course you can't test in the browser anymore, or at least you can't test those specific features. So we've got a special native app you can install on your device, and you can launch the PhoneGap from it. Okay, so you don't have to install it every single time. You just tap the app and it opens the actual native app basically, and you can test it. Okay? Now, so once you're done, you can now export. Okay, and you can see the various options. Of course, you can export as mobile web. So mobile web, that's how we start. right? So you build HTML5 jQuery, that's how you start, and then you can export it as PhoneGap. There's Android and also iOS. So if you guys heard about PhoneGap, and I'm sure you heard about the PhoneGap build, right? So the last two options right here, this is basically the same thing. Okay, we like PhoneGap build, but it's our own build that we created. So for example, this Android, which is really nice that this file is ready for the Android market or the Play market now. You download it, 5 minutes later it's published. Okay, iOS, a little bit slower for obvious reasons, and of course you do need to get your certificate, that Apple requires. So there's really no way without it. Okay, so that's it. PhoneGap. So again, allows you to first of all put the app inside a native shell or native wrapper and then put it in the app market. But it also, of course, provides a rich API to access the device itself. So we do have some components basically available which are based on PhoneGap's API. So you don't actually need to know what the API is. Now, obviously, PhoneGap has more than just 4. For everything else, you can just call the API, just like making a regular JavaScript call, basically. Okay, but again, everything PhoneGap supports, you can do. All right. I think 2 more things. There's also a social aspect, right? You guys, I'm sure know about Google Docs, right, where you can invite other people to edit the document with you at the same time, different times. So something very similar is here. You can actually share your app or your project, and you can other developers, next room or anywhere in the world, work on the app with you at the same time or a different time. Okay. And lastly, you can build your own custom themes. So we've got about 25 or so custom themes based on jQuery mobile themes, but you can also build your own. So obviously look and feel is important, so you can create your own themes if you would like. All right? So that's it. What I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to go into the tool and to build an app for you. All right? So let me do that. All right. So this is the apps page. This is sort of all your apps. Okay. So I'm going to start right here. All right. So I'm going to go to App Builder. So now there's a mobile web and mobile app. So mobile web is just a pure mobile, just HTML5 jQuery. The mobile app is actually mobile web plus PhoneGap. And so for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to go here. But in a few weeks, we're actually going to make it just one type, because we figure out this actually confuses a lot of people, especially if they don't have enough experience or don't know. So we're actually going to make one app. So just letting you know. All right, we can select a template, click next, and then give it a name. So, so the app I'm going to build is going to be a Twitter search app, but basically we're going to connect to Twitter's search API, all right, and we're going to search for any tweets, right, that we want. So let's call this DC Twitter, all right. I'm going to hit create. So I'm on Wi-Fi, so it may take a few extra seconds. But basically, again, this is all in the browser. Okay, so what's really nice is that it's very easy to start. Right? You have to spend days and sometimes maybe even longer to actually set up the project and so on. So you just kind of sign up and create a project. A few more seconds. So again, Wi-Fi usually takes a little bit longer.
So while you're waiting, how many apps are you building on there? Just,
apps, like I don't have an exact number, but a lot. I mean, if you especially count all the junk apps. But we don't actually, so we don't track. I mean, because what people can do is they can build an app, right? And for example, especially mobile, right, where they don't put it in the store. They can build the app, they can export the app, and then they can deploy it somewhere and not ever tell us. Okay, so again, for Android, for example, yeah, we can actually see sometimes it appears in the store. So I don't have an exact number. Now, as for this tool was launched in late September last year, so it hasn't been out for very, very long. So, all right. So this is the we got a phone frame, right, and we got jQuery mobile component. So as I said, the first step, we can change this to app. Let's change this to app. All right, and so the first step is to build the UI. So all we do is, all right, and this is the input. We can make it a placeholder, and then the button we can change the search. All right. Now, so the moment I put even one component, actually no components at all, I can actually test this app already. Okay, let me save, click test, and so this is the app. All right. I mean, obviously the phone frame is something right? It's our phone frame, just to kind of give you a better idea, where the app is, right? Without the phone frame, actually, we would just take the entire browser window. All right, and so now this URL is private by default, but I can actually make it public, and you guys can actually also try it again. So this is a pretty long URL, so I don't want you to actually type it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go to tinyurl, and I'm going to create a shortcut. Okay, so we'll call this DCJQuery. Let's see if it will get. All right, so can you guys see this? So if you open your phones and type this, I'm going to go back for a second because you can scan the QR code. Usually, the distance should be fine. But if not, you can type in tinyurl.com DCJQuery. All right, but let me go back, and you guys can this one, the top QR code. If you guys want to try and scan it, you'll get the same URL. Again, it just depends on the phone if you're able to scan it or not. All right, but again, it's tinyurl. It's not working. Too far. Okay. But again, tinyurl.com and then DCJQuery. Got it? Got it? All right. So again, yeah, tinyurl.com and then DCJQuery. So let me continue. I'm going to now, so this is for the input. I'm going to build the portion for the UI. For the output, so scrolling down, I'm going to get a grid component. Sorry, wrong place. Here we go. It has 2 columns by default. You can add more columns, more rows, but it's useful for layout. In the first one, I'm going to put an image component. This is the Twitter picture. And the only thing is I'm going to resize it to 48 by 48, just the size that Twitter sends me, so I know that. Okay. And into the second column, I'm going to put 2 labels. So label 1, this is the actual Twitter username. And then label 2, this will be the actual tweet text. All right? So if I save, you guys can refresh on your phones, and you'll be able to see not a whole lot changed. What we can also do is that we can change the look and feel. So we can change it to this looks usually a little bit better. So let me save, and if you guys try this on your phones, refresh, you'll be able to now see this. Right? Now, so I think even if all we had is just this is already pretty cool because you can obviously create multiple screens, you can navigate between the screens, you can run JavaScript. So this would give you the option to build the UI for your app, right? Without data, right? But you can easily, of course, get data, and that's why I mentioned REST services. So there is a services palette, right? And I'm going to go to REST service, drag and drop it. It's asking me to select a service. I don't have one, so I'm going to click Add New. All right, it opens the service editor, and so this is the URL. So again, I'm going to use Twitter, but just imagine, I mean, anything that exposes REST out there, you can use. So this is for Twitter. All right. So I'm connecting to Twitter Search API. All right. This is just for security, not important. So every service has inputs and outputs. So going to request parameters. In Twitter's case, it's Q, which stands for query. That's the only one that's required. It has a bunch of optional parameters, but we're not going to worry about it. Right? What I can also do, I can test the service right here. Okay, so I can click test. I can enter anything I want and click test. And it's going to give me a result, right? So this is not really for us to really read, but just to make sure that there's no errors, and we got back some JSON, right? So this is for input. The next step would be to define the service output, and there is a way to do it automatically, is that I can automatically create the service's response structure based on the sample test. So clicking this button, okay, so it says probably successfully. I'm going to click close, and it takes me to response parameters, and you can see this is all I got back from Twitter. This is the JSON response that I get back. So, I mean, I could do this by hand, but obviously this would take much longer. Okay, so this feature is really nice because it enables you to try services really quickly. So you get a URL, right? You specify the input parameters, then you run this, and you got the service. So this output portion, being able to do it automatically makes it very, very easy to try really any service out there. All right, so this is output, right? This is input, and this is the actual service. So we save, and we close. So we're back here. So this is the service. This indicates the service is on the page. So what we need to do next, we have to map the service to the UI, or do data binding. And so I'm going to click the data mapping, and let me just, there we go. So this is a visual data mapper, and this is the page. So we've got the page on this side and the service on this side. So this is the input right here. So I'm going to take the value and map it as being services input. So I take text property and map it like this, right? The connection. Now, I can also run JavaScript if I need to. So if I need to do something with the value, I can actually do that. Or if I need to access local storage, I can do that. So anywhere you can write JavaScript, I mean, you can do anything you want with JavaScript. I mean, there are no limitations. You can use third-party libraries, anything you want. I mean, as long as you don't break. Right? You can use what? You mean connect them all? Yeah, you can connect, yes. So I only have one input, but on the output I'm going to show you. So this is request mapping. I'm going to show you response mapping. Right, so this is what I get. So first the result, this is the collection, this is the JSON array that I get of all the tweets. So I'm going to map it with the grid itself. Alright, this will give me this iteration feature. So text right here, this is actual tweet text. And actually don't you actually have to expand, it will expand automatically. They put the mouse over. So I'm taking the text and mapping it to the second label in the second column. Okay. From user, this is the actual Twitter username, and so I'm going to map it right here. Okay, and finally we got the picture, which is profile image URL, which is right here. All right, so you get the idea, and you can map as many as you need. And again, you can run JavaScript here, so anything you can do with JavaScript, you can do that. Alright, so let's go back to design. We're almost done. So the last step is we actually have to invoke the service, right? So we place the service on the page first, we map the service, but now we have to invoke it. So I select the button, and I can click this little E, which events takes me to events tab, and well, these are all the events. So obviously these are again browser events. Click, and then we can do something based on this when this event happens. So again, notice run JavaScript. Again, really up to you what you want to do. Save in local storage, get from local storage, and so on. Now invoke service. Okay, this is the one we want to do. So we select the service, click OK, save, click test. Right, and right. So here's the app. You guys, if you have to refresh, and you'll be able to. I mean, you can search for anything you want. Right. So again, I think what's really awesome is that this is a real app, right? Now, it's simple, obviously, but this is a real app that you can test and try, and it connects to a real service. So the next step is, well, you can export the app. All right, so you can see you can do mobile web. We also give you the source code if you want to do, for example, it would be a PhoneGap project, and then you can get binaries for iOS and Android. And in about a week, we're actually going to be also adding Windows Phone source export. Okay, not binary, that's later, but the first thing is source. All right. So, and I think the last thing is, so if you export as Android, for example, right? So you basically get a PhoneGap app, and then, it doesn't use any native features or anything. Now, if you want to use native features, then again, they are right here, and they're basically services. So if I want to do a camera, I can just drop it the same way. I've got a camera, I can do similar mappings. Now again, once I use the camera, obviously I can't test in the browser anymore, right? So that's why, and you guys won't really be able to see it, but well, I'll open it anyways. So it's a very simple app from which you can launch native apps. You see, it says here, oh sorry, wrong one. DCJQuery Twitter, the first one. Well, but yeah, if I click run, it's going to download the PhoneGap app and launch it. So this will allow me to test then, right? So, and I said, so we've got these 4 components, but obviously PhoneGap provides a lot more, so you can just use the API directly. You just write the API like I showed in the slide.
So does it actually generate the APK file, or is that handled? Does your application take the HTML from that? So does it generate an Android HTML?
Yes, but it's going to be a PhoneGap app, right? So the inside is still mobile web.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a PhoneGap app, but it's actually an APK.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So the app that you use to install it, is that just for convenience, so you don't have to do it?
It's for testing primarily.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this makes the process quicker.
Yeah. But I mean, if you want to take the binary and test it some other way, yeah, you can do that. You can do that. I think that's it. I do want to just go quickly through the slides. Yeah, so let me get, well, before that. So this is sort of the platform. Now you saw the tool. So what's important is that, again, the actual resulting app is jQuery mobile, HTML5 and JavaScript and CSS. All right. So that's sort of the first level, and then of course, PhoneGap is optional. But of course, the first step is you're going to build a pure mobile web app that you can run in any browser, right? Second, if you need to put it in the app market, you can, put it inside the PhoneGap's native shell and then, put it in the app market. And, I guess the third is that if you need to use any native APIs, so of course PhoneGap as well. So again, what we provide is sort of a development environment, kind of a builder. But at the end of the result is just a sort of jQuery mobile HTML5 mobile app. Okay. So yes. So this is a service. So it has pretty standard freemium models. There is a free plan, right? Basically, you can build one app. There is a standard plan. You can build 3 apps, and then a professional plan where you can build unlimited apps. So you guys, if you sign up, everyone will get 2 months pro plan, right? To try. If you need more time, shoot me an email. I'll give you more time. It's not a problem. But when you sign up, right, even just for this, right, if you want to just play with it, send me an email, and I will upgrade you, right? I can't upgrade you if you're not in the system. So you guys want to play with it, again, 2 months. If you loved it so much, if you need more, I'll give you more. It's not a problem.
What kind of technology is involved in the problem?
Technology. Well, the resulting app, as I said, it's jQuery, right? HTML, PhoneGap, and so on. The builder, yeah. So the builder is actually is Flash right now, and it's Flash for historical reasons. We started a while ago as a pure prototyping tool, and so back then Flash was the technology. But we are actually switching or started building a pure HTML5 builder version. So it's obviously going to take some time, but it will be out there.
Probably Darcy asked this question in the room, but if you don't want to have jQuery mobile in your app, is that something you turn on and off?
Not right now. Yeah, it's we thought about using some other UI technologies, but it would be just too challenging to support 2 things. So we figured we'll just concentrate on one and do it good instead of.
Is it using 1.0 jQuery mobile, and is there an option to take 1.10, or is there other different?
So right now the version that it uses 1.01, and then in about a week we're actually moving to 1.1. So yeah, I mean, we're going to be always just a little bit behind because we have to test now. So the options, if you really want to try, is you can always it's actually here.
Okay.
You can always import some library here. This actually says PhoneGap 1.5. It's actually 1.6. This is just a typo. So you can do, so this actually, you can export any JavaScript libraries. But if you really want to try, what you can do is you can export the app right here, for example. And you can replace the JavaScript libraries manually.
Okay.
So that's sort of a way to do it.
Do you have any related automated testing in here, like for example, JavaScript?
Nothing built in yet. Nothing built in yet. So whichever you can find out there, you can use.
So besides your tutorial right now, is there documentation anywhere, or just sort of click around?
Yeah, if you go to help.tiggzi.com, you should find good amount of information. A lot of tutorials on how to connect to different APIs. But it's constantly being updated. So if we're missing something, let us know, and we'll definitely add that. So a number of cases people would requested like tutorials on how to connect to specific API. So we would love, that's definitely always helpful if you have an API you want to use, and we'll add it to the list.
My question is, I guess one of the things that are kind of standoffish with visual builders is they're hard to extend. I was wondering about the output. What does the application structure look like? If I wanted to open it up and mess with the code, what would that look like?
I mean, it's just jQuery, HTML and JavaScript and CSS. But it's a good question. We're actually always, with every release, we're getting the code generation better and better, more optimized. And basically, we want to get it as close as possible as you would do it, by hand, for example. I mean, obviously, there are some things that we have to do from code generation perspective, But the goal is to make the code as optimized as possible first.
So the URL for the tutorials is help.tiggzi.com.
.com, yeah. But if you go to if you go to the homepage tiggzi.com, there is a big help link at the top. I mean, then it will get you there.
All right, last question.
Or two, I think two last questions over there. So
You're talking about the code generation of the code. Are you guys using any libraries for that code generation, or is that all come from graph? And second, for extensibility, we have the ability to make our own components that we can interface with your system.
So, with regards to the code generation, it's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, there's obviously custom code that we use, that we wrote to generate. As for any libraries, I don't know. I can get back to you if that's and let you know. As for extending, so again, I showed you can import any third-party JavaScript libraries. You can write your own JavaScript. Yeah, elements. Yeah, not yet, because the thing is, because if you want to put an element here, because it has to be drawn on in the builder, right? And then there is code generation. So there is. So for now, only we can do it. I think once we move into the HTML5 version, things might be a little bit simpler there, because we're actually going to be using the browser to display during development and also so. Now, as for extending, we do have this notion of plugins, which we're going to actually populate, but it's a catalog of prepackaged different APIs. So if some company wants to make their API available, kind of a prepackaged, so you don't have to enter the URL like I did. So you just select Twitter search, and it's going to be already available in your app. So that's one way to extend the capabilities.
Do you provide Cardone plugins as well?
Cardone, you mean the phone app?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. How different are you from Adobe?
Well, it's actually it's the same thing. They just changed the name. Yeah.
No, I mean in terms of
You mean the phone got built? So we support right now only Android and iOS. They also support some other, like the BlackBerry and a few other platforms, which I forget what they are. But I mean, we support the main two, and we're working on Windows Phone.
in terms of work, for example, the access to APIs in the and but the developer is on the script, then
Phone got built, yes. The developer, well, yes. I think that they also have different levels.
right.
Phone
Open source is free.
Well, they're monetizing the cloud service. The home structure is different.
This sounds like a great discussion, but I'm really hungry. So
we can take it offline. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So guys, do go again and sign up. You get 2 months. If you have any questions, this is also the best way to contact me.